What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon. I am back with you for another Dolphins with Dillon. I don't actually have a whole lot to report or talk about from my end today. The one thing I want to say, man, is just, well, two things. One is every day that goes by, I get more and more excited for this upcoming game. This is going to be probably the biggest game that we have all year. It's going to say so much about this team, and it's going to say so much about the future of our team, the Patriots, the AFC East, all kinds of things. So it's huge. It's a monumental game, and definitely the entire football world is going to be, eyes on this game. So it's monumental. It's huge. Also, to go with that, every day that passes, the more I watch the film from our last game and their last game, and the more I watch, these news reports and read these articles and, so on and so forth, man, I just gotta say, the stars are aligning, guys. The stars are aligning. I mean, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how this turns out. Obviously, to be fair, if we lost, I would be very disappointed, but I really do feel confident that, and I'll go into the, the reasons why and stuff, obviously, in my preview video, but I just wanted to say, guys, that I really feel like everything is coming together and the stars are aligning for us to finally dethrone the Patriots, to knock them out in their own stadium, in their home stadium, beat the Patriots and go away with the W, knock them to 1-3, and move us to 4-0 with a 3.5 game lead in the division. Oh my goodness, that would be absolutely amazing. So anyway, that's all I had to say. I've got interviews for you. There was a Mike Gesicki one from yesterday, another player from yesterday, I forgot who it was, and then today was the day of coordinator press conferences. So we have Adam Gase and Dow Loggins and Darren Rizzi and Matt Burke. So I hope you guys enjoyed the interviews. I hope you guys enjoy my show. If you like it, hit the subscribe button. If you want alerts, hit the bell. Make sure you hit the like button. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns. I love interacting with you guys, and of course share it with all your friends and stuff like that. And also too, follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is on the end screen, so definitely follow me on Twitter. With that said, I am signing out. I'll see you guys soon. Fins up.
Strange. I mean,
I've played there before, so I've had a lot of experience playing there, and I'm excited to get back up there.
I think in the last decade, only 2 AFC East teams have won their Bills over the last 10 years. That's it. What makes it, besides the talent on the team, what makes that so difficult for division teams to come up there and emerge victorious?
It's all about football, really. Just good football players, and they're well coached. They have good players, and they fly around, and it's not going to be any different this weekend. So we got to do a lot of things well in order to win. So
the coaches here been picking your brain?
They're smart, so
Ready, yes?
no, they're smart.
Do you think there will be any emotions plus seeing your brothers on the other side that you kind of fought with for 5 years out there?
Emotions of there. I play with a lot of emotion every game. I have a lot of friends on every team, so this won't be really much different. And I'm familiar with a lot of people in the organization, and I'm excited to get up there.
Are you surprised at the struggles they've had? I mean, 1-2, you don't often see that from a New England.
I mean, they have a bunch of good football players, and it's early in the season, and everybody in the whole league's trying to figure some things out and trying to get moving, and including us. So, we're going to get up there and give it our best shot, and look at the scoreboard after the game, and hopefully, we come out on top.
Danny, how tough do your offensive coaches have a hard time spreading stuff around? How tough is it to figure out who's getting what on what occasion?
What was the end of that question?
You guys, how tough on what occasion, like who gets the ball? Some of you guys touching the ball.
Just the open guy. Ryan does a good job of getting the ball to playmakers, and we have some playmakers on this team, so it's really good to see. And we're all hungry. We all want to make plays to help this team win, and that's why we're here.
Danny, before the season, we asked you about national expectations for this team, and you said this team is going to just come out fighting.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think? Have you guys done that the first 3 games?
Definitely. There's a lot of room for improvement too, and we've noticed that on film, and studying ourselves, and trying to get better here. Today, tomorrow, the rest of the week to play better next week, and that's our mindset.
What could a win do for you guys? Another win.
One game a week. That's what we're focused on, but we want to win every one we play. So this week's no different. It's an away game. It's a division game. It's an important game, and we're all excited to get up there.
How would you describe the lessons that you learned about what it takes to win during your time in New England?
It takes a lot of preparation. It takes a lot of film study. It takes a lot of experience. Knowing what to do, knowing what not to do. Situational football. Some of the things I learned there, I'll carry with me forever. So, what I've learned most is how to prepare for a game, what goes into the weekly routine leading into a game, and sticking with that mold. So I'm just using my preparation skills against them now. So
Anything else besides what you learned in 2 rings that it's going to be dear to your heart a little bit from your time there?
Maybe I'll look at all that stuff after I'm done playing, but right now it's just all about preparation and getting ready for the game, getting ready for a good opponent that plays really hard. They're well coached, so just going to continue to prepare this week.
Danny, what was your relationship like with the fans up there, and what kind of welcome are you expecting back?
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
You talked to Rob this week?
Who's that?
Rob Gronkowski is the question.
I haven't talked to him this week, no.
What do you think of you facing him? Obviously, you want to see him on the field, but you'll see him before the game and all that. You were his teammate for so many years, and now you're going to try to beat him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's a great player. I'm not guarding him. It's no news flash, but we'll see what happens. He's a good.
Share embrace with Brady before the game.
Before, after, he's got a lot of things to do to get ready for the game as well. So, it's through the whole organization they have a lot of great people there. So I can't sit down and talk to all of them, but I'm just going to focus on the game and whoever I get to hit or handshake, it's fine with me.
Are you surprised at their start?
I'm sorry?
Are you surprised at their start, their struggles so far?
I'm not really focused on that, really, honestly. I'm just focused on this team and what I can do to help this team win. So, I've watched all the film and seen all the plays, but they're a good football team, and we got to play good to beat them. That's for sure.
For your game by game so far?
Good, man. It's starting to continue to progress, get more comfortable out there, just continue to start play faster, think less, all that kind of stuff, and just continue to make plays when the ball comes my way.
What's the biggest thing you've learned the last 3 weeks?
I think honestly, just it's not so much. I just got to continue to do my job and not focus on everybody wants to know, Mike's not getting the ball, Mike's not this, Mike's not, he's got to block better, he's got to do that. I'll just block everything out, just do my job, know my role, know my assignment, just go out and execute. And at the end of the day, do whatever we can to win. And so far we're 3-0. So.
What's something that you think you've done well here in your first couple games, and what's something you think you need to improve on the most?
I think the one thing that I've done well, throughout my entire career, is just letting one bad play, just let it go. Another bad play, let it go. I don't really let things affect me. I could stand here and have every single one of you guys write something terrible about me, and I'm in one ear, out the other. I could have you guys say I'm the best tight end in the NFL in one ear, out the other. I don't pay attention to anything. So I just focus on my job, my role, my assignment, because at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. So I think that's something I do really well, is just whether it's good or bad, just leave it in the past and move forward, and then just continue to just develop and understand concepts better, understand some of the run stuff better, understand some of the pass pro better. And this is a very complex offense. So when you kind of my goal ultimately is to get where Ryan's at. Obviously, it's going to take years and years, and a lot of time, a lot of effort into that. But when I can have that same mindset and that same mentality out on the field, then the only option you have is to play fast.
Is there anything from AJ Derby's game that you kind of want to incorporate in your own?
Yeah, he's very smart. He knows everything like the back of his hand. So I think that's kind of something. You ask AJ a question, it's right back. And he does a great job teaching the younger guys, myself and Durham. A lot of stuff about the offense, a lot of stuff about just the NFL in general. So I give a lot of props to him.
You've been over the years, you're not going to be on the field at the same time, but watching Gronk, I'm sure, from a distance playing the same position. What are your thoughts on where he ranks?
I think, it's no surprise. He's, one of, if not the best tight end in the NFL. But it's not by mistake, man. Obviously, don't know him personally, but growing up watching him, I've seen his highlights, I've seen his workouts, I've seen everything that there is, about him. I have a ton of respect for his game and his work ethic, and the way he plays, how aggressive he plays, all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Does Gronk go harder on the field or off the field?
That's you're not gonna get me with that one.
On your 19-yard catch the other day, it seemed like you were looking for contact. You were looking for someone to kind of run over. Is that not what was happening, or is that what was happening?
Yeah, I just kind of react to however the play is going down. So there's a deep safety, probably about 6-8 yards away from me, and I saw him go low, so I went low and tried to lower my shoulder, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was good. It was it's good going out looking for contact and because if you give them some contact and start beating them up, those are the same guys you run your routes on. So if they're getting tired, they're getting beat up, it's only going to help you.
Gase really is dependent on using tight ends in this system, but do you feel any more pressure, any less pressure that because he's spreading the ball around, maybe you don't have to come along as fast?
No, I'm not worried about any of that kind of stuff. Even when I came in, it's not like I was like, oh, I want the ball, I want this, I want that.
Yeah.
I was just coming in, and just working my tail off each and every day. So this way, whether it's one time, whether it's 10 times, whether it's this week or whether it's the last week of the season, ball comes my way or my number gets called, I got to execute.
Devontae's back now. It kind of shuffled the deck a little bit differently, so it wasn't one specific person. Obviously, you guys know, as my job as special teams coach is to always make sure, there could be a different combination every week, no differently than this week, where there could be a different combination of guys, and so it really wasn't one particular person. I'm going through the phases in my head, so that'll be the kind of case every week. Once we made the final decision on who the actives are, then it's my job to make sure, obviously, that we're kind of plugging in the right holes. You guys know last week in the game we had some injuries in game, and it's no different. When we have injuries like that within the game, all of a sudden some guys that maybe not had gotten a lot of reps in the past on special teams, and all of a sudden they had to jump forward. And with the injuries last week in the game, that same situation came up. So
you obviously have a full grasp of what New England does on special teams from playing them many times, watching tape. But does Walden give you anything extra as far as intel that's helpful?
Yeah, it's good. It's a really good question. Obviously we have Brandon here and Danny here. The Patriots, much like other teams, do a good job of changing things up in terms of calls and cadences and maybe tips and things like that. So, it's hard to go wholesale on one particular thing. I mean, I have no greater respect for any organization than theirs. I mean, they do a great job. Coach Belichick has a special teams background. Their special teams coach, Joe Judge, and I, we were both on the kickoff return committee together, and I spent a lot of time with him as well. I got a lot of respect for what they do. So, it's really just one individual game. It's not really, this particular game, just kind of getting game planning ready for this one. I mean, are there? I've talked, certainly picked Brandon's brain about some players and maybe some things about things like that, about personnel. But, when you get into the scheme stuff, it's very easily to change some different things. So we're not going to go wholesale on some of that stuff,
How would you describe Brandon's personality and leadership style?
I would call it A+. I mean, I think I mentioned before in here that kind of knew him as the player, Brandon Bolden the player, but getting to know Brandon Bolden the person, the leader, that kind of thing's been kind of neat for me. Really, really mature guy, really, really good football IQ. Has been really good, to be honest with you, with some of our younger players. We got a lot of younger guys playing on special teams. He's been in a role in New England, in the 6 years he was there, where he had to work with some younger players and kind of, be a mentor. And he's kind of been doing that. That's been really cool to watch. And only the few weeks he's been here is watching some of the younger players kind of gravitate towards him and knowing that he's got a really, really good background in special teams. A guy that right away kind of earned the players' trust and the coach's trust when he got here, just by his work ethic, his preparation. You watch this guy walk around the building, you watch him in meetings, things like that. He kind of really has a really good, professional mentality, if you will. We call it kind of a pro. He prepares like a pro. And he's a really, really good role model to have around here, not only on the field, because I think he does a great job between the lines, but watching the guy and watching what he does outside the lines has been really good for our younger guys as well.
2 field goal attempts. You made them both, but not a ton of opportunities for Jason.
Yeah. It's just the way games play out. I mean, there's going to be 3-game stretches where you have maybe 10 and 3-game stretches where you have 2. And that's cyclical, kind of, you look around the league, there's a lot of those situations. There's one kind of time we decided to go for it on 4th down there is more of a game plan decision. And there's a couple times where we're on the fringe of long punt, short punt, long field goal. So it just really hasn't had the opportunities. But he's got to obviously stay ready, and because again, you could have a 3-game stretch where all of a sudden, he's called on a lot.
Range.
Oh, he's got a long range. Certainly leg strength's certainly not his issue. I mean, you guys saw certainly in the preseason. He had a couple attempts in the 50s. We stretched him out before. I mean, I've seen him make some really long field goals. Again, it's really situational where we are in the game, score. All the field position things. Because the one thing you're always worried about on real long field goals is you miss it. Obviously, your opponent gets the ball at that spot. So, but I'm certainly not worried about his strength. His leg strength is very, very good.
Seems like Matt has had a really strong first 3 games at Hawk. Have you seen anything different in him?
The only thing I've seen with Matt, I think really, you make that, a lot of times everyone uses that analogy, probably overuse the analogy about year 1 to year 2 with players and that big jump that players make. But I really think in this instance, for a specialist, there's a correlation there, because you learn a lot on the run. You're going through it for the first time last year, and everything's brand new. And now you get to kind of press the reset button a little bit and go back, watch last year's film and say, okay, what didn't I do well? What can I do better? All those kinds of things. And I think Matt's a really intelligent guy. And so not only is the talent come into it, but I think he's gotten better at our situational punting. I think the directional stuff, the situational stuff, obviously he's got a decent amount of punts inside the 20, which has helped our field position. And so I think after going through it for a year, especially with a guy like him and his football IQ and kind of his mentality, this kind of getting a second go at it has really helped him. And that's not a surprise to me, because as I've said before, I really think he's still just getting started. I really think this guy's got a brilliant career ahead of him. He's got a really, really, really good mindset, really good temperament, really good work ethic, and so and the talent's there. So that's a pretty good combination.
What do you see with Spate? Bringing him in, the linebacker? I'm sure you studied a little bit of.
Yeah, just getting to know him a little bit. Obviously, got a chance to watch him on film a little bit, and got a chance to talk to their special teams coach a little bit in Washington. Another guy that I know well, and trying to just kind of get a feel for what he's. I have an idea what he's played positionally. Just getting to know the guy a little bit. Really liked what he's done the last couple of days in just terms of jumping right in and kind of catching up. It's kind of bad. I told him yesterday, he came out to practice, hey, this is a baptism by fire. So kind of learning on the run as we go. It's one of those deals that, again, as a special teams coach, this is one of our deals. You got to get guys ready to play, and And so, kind of going through and getting him as much work as we can here and kind of getting caught up on all the mental stuff. But so far, so good. We'll see how the rest of the week plays out with him.
I wanted to ask you, you've been a part of so many different regimes here, so many different Dolphins teams, but nobody's had success since 2008. I know you weren't part of that in Foxborough. What is it that makes playing up there so challenging and so difficult?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, obviously it's a tough road environment. They've obviously had a lot of success at home, and I think a lot of the reasons are you look at statistically what they do, and they don't turn the ball over a lot as a team altogether, but they don't turn the ball over a lot at home. They do a really, really good job of situational football there. I mean, again, take obviously the crowd and all that stuff, the weather. I mean, there's a lot of factors, but more importantly, they're as good of a situational football team as any in the league in terms of winning the situations and not self-destructing or certainly we call it unforced errors, if you will. That's one of the things they do really well. I've been part of teams here. We've gone up there, as you guys know, we've jumped on them early and gotten early leads, and somehow, some way they came back. And by the same token, I've been on teams that have gone up there and dug a hole early, and we've battled back. So we've had a little bit of everything up there. Have kind of a mixed bag, but I do think the beginning of the game there is important. I do think the start of the game that they have a knack of jumping on teams early there and kind of get the snowball rolling downhill, if you will. And I think it's important for us every week, certainly to do that. But certainly on the road, when you get on the road, your start to the game is going to be very important. And I think that'll be the case this week.
Who so far this season has stood out on special teams in areas that don't show up on the stat sheet?
Areas that don't show up on the stat sheet. There's a lot of those. I like talking about this. This is down my avenue right here. It's special teams is obviously sometimes not the focal point of the game, and there's been a lot of little things that have done a really, guys have done a good job. Walt Aikens has really played a significant role on our punt, not only with Matt Hawk punting the ball, but covering the ball. The last couple of weeks, Cornell Armstrong has done a really good job for us in terms of coverage. A guy that might not be a household name, and certainly a guy that is kind of an ascending player. Guys like Perry and Bolden, those kind of guys have been solid, really solid for us in the game. Stephon Anthony is a guy last week that really played a very solid game all the way around, probably his best game on special teams since he's been here. And so, little things like that. There's been some younger players that have been thrust into some roles, because of, of where we are in terms of roster. And some of those young guys have been, a little bit hot and cold, but for the most part, we've been pretty consistent. That's what we got to continue to be. You play a team like we're playing this week, and as I've said to our guys many times, you got to be really on top of your stuff. I mean, they do a really good job of film study and kind of know what you put out there, and that's going to be important for us this week.
You call it a flyer or a gunner when you're, huh?
Our punt, when we're punting the ball, we call them gunners. Some people call them flyers, yeah. It's special teams lingo. Some people call it a split end, and some people call it an X-receiver, and some people call it a flanker, and some people, on punting, we call the wide guys gunners, and then the guys that are blocking them jammers. Jammers, yeah.
How difficult is it for Walt Aikens in particular to take on two jammers and consistently win?
It's a very, very unique technique. We call that a vice technique. When two jammers go out and block one gunner, which you see a lot in this league. Sometimes you see it on one side, not the other, but obviously Walt has been really productive, so he draws a lot of attention. So a lot of times he'll get the vice in particular. And
so you call that the vice?
We call that a vice. When two guys go out, there's two players, two DBs usually go out and play on the jammer. We call that a vice technique. If there's one guy and then one guy shows up late, we call that a crunch technique, but essentially it's a 2-on-1, whether they're on the line of scrimmage or whether one's on the line and one's off the line. That's a technique we spend an awful amount of time on. Go back to our OTAs. It's one of the things we start working on like right away because it's a very difficult task. There's a lot of little nuances that go into that, a lot of fundamentals and techniques, knowing how to use a sideline, knowing that when you can use a sideline, your re-entry onto the field. You see a lot of penalty flags thrown. A lot of times a guy gets out of bounds and doesn't re-enter the right way and stays in the paint, so to speak. Know when to release inside, outside, leverage, hand placement. There's a lot of little things. So we spend a crazy amount of time on that because, two good jammers can take away a gunner in a heartbeat. And, we want everybody, whether they're getting two-on-one or one-on-one, obviously to be down by the ball. And so Walt is a guy that's gotten better and better and better and better. He's obviously a physical He's a physically strong guy, and he can run. But that technique, sometimes it doesn't matter how strong you are. You get 2-on-1. If you're not technique savvy, you're going to lose that battle. And so, that's something that, we say, heck, we spend a lot of time on. I could clinic for a long time about that. Just little things, your flat release, your hand placement, your speed, your angle, all those things, your re-enter, your finish, your pad level, come to balance. There's a bunch of terms that we use. And so it's a really, really unique technique. And Walt has gotten, really improved as we've gone on. He's really working with some of our younger guys, Torrey, Cornell, some of these younger guys that go out there, Mo Smith, and trying to speed them up along as well.
Thank you, guys.
On the play to Wilson, that you were egging him on to make that call. What's that sound like in the headset, or when you're egging him on? What's that sound like?
It was just, in that moment, we wanted to get that play called, and we've been talking about it for a couple of series, and it just popped up, and I was able to remind him in the moment.
So now you spent a part of the season working with Josh Gordon during your time in Cleveland.
Yes.
What do you remember of his physical skills, and what do you tell Matt or any of the defensive players about that?
What the tape says, extremely talented player, and just great size, great speed, intelligent, good football player.
So with the run game, some of the struggles that we've seen, at least last week, it was obviously good in the opener. Would you say combination of lack of blocking at the level you want from the offensive line, some tight ends, some backs, mixture of the three?
Some credit to them as well. I think we talked about it in here a couple weeks ago that there's going to be games like that when you guys asked about the success the first 2 weeks, and there's going to be some games where it just doesn't match up as well, and they're doing stuff schematically that's advantageous. So now the ball needs to go up in the air. And, it was a combination of all those things. We didn't block as well as we could at any position. And you got to give those guys credit. They did a good job. And so we were able to do some different stuff in the passing game.
What's your confidence level in the two rookie tight ends if AJ can't go?
It's high. I think that both those guys will step in and do well if they're needed. If their role gets expanded because of injury or, because they've earned time, then I expect both those guys go in and play well.
Do you also expect the Patriots to kind of attack them, considering they're young rookies?
I can't speak on that. I expect those guys when they're in there to do their jobs.
You guys are 11th in scoring, but 30th in time possession. How do you explain that?
I think it's a lot of different things. It's not being good enough on third down is an area that we need to improve on. It's credit to some of the other offenses that have done it nice. The Raiders did a good job staying on the field and kept us off. The most important thing is we score one more point than those guys. To this point, we've scored more points than our opponent, and it's so early in the season. I don't think stats are really relevant. You start to figure out more as it goes on, but it's just too early to talk about stuff like that right now.
What is the things that need to happen for the jet sweep to work?
We got to call it the right time versus the right defense. We actually hit the long touchdown, the 74-yarder. It was into double corner blitz. So the guys executed it well. It's something that, we've been a good outside zone team to this point, the first 2 weeks especially. And it's really just a chance for us to get our playmakers the ball in space.
How often do you talk to Adam about run-pass balance in a game?
It really depends on the flow of the game. And, as that game was going on and we weren't running the ball the way we wanted to, and you could feel like the pass protection was good, and Ryan had a good feel on what was going on in that game. And I do believe each game's played differently, and sometimes you can run it 35, 40 times a game, and sometimes you have to throw it. And when we had discussions during the game, I felt really good about where Ryan was at, what he was seeing, and the pass protection felt very confident having the ball in his hands.
Do you recall the first time when you guys asked Albert to throw, thinking in the back of your mind and Adam's mind this could be something we go to? Was it back in May where off to the side you said, let's see you throw it?
Well, as soon as we, made the decision that we were going to go after him, we started diving into stuff. Adam started watching Georgia State tape and started watching all the stuff he'd done in his career to that point. And, so as soon as we got here, it was like, hey, let's figure out what this guy can do and how far we can push these limits. And obviously, he's thrown a touchdown. He's caught touchdowns. He's played running back. He's done a lot of different stuff. And it's a credit to him because not only is he a a good playmaker, but he's very intelligent, and you have to work really hard to understand every position and be moved around that much.
How much tape did you have of him throwing?
There wasn't much, but there's a trick play here or there, but it was mainly getting him here and find out what he could do.
First time throw the ball.
He was able to do that stuff. It's just one more weapon that we could utilize at the right time.
What was this offense missing that you thought you could help fill that need?
I don't know what it was missing, but what we saw when we watched him on tape was a dynamic playmaker that could help us score points.
What's the best way for a receiver to not get called for offensive pass interference when there's a chance he could?
Execute the play with the proper fundamentals, understanding the distribution, and having a great understanding of the roles.
There are guys, like with Albert's situation, they can throw it, they obviously have the arm. But you don't really, since he hadn't done an NFL game, you know what's going to happen when the time comes. I mean, kind of reading into their personality. What about that part of it? And I mean, how much was your gut churning, wondering whether underthrow it by 20 yards?
That's a great question. I think that's the key to it all, because there's a lot of talented players in the NFL that have multiple sets of skills, but it's trust, and that's earned from demonstrated ability on the practice field. And he's executed plays, everything we've asked. Nothing's been too big for him, whether it was playing running back, slot, outside, quarterback in a wildcat situation, and he's just built trust amongst his teammates and coaches. So everything we ask him to do, we have faith in him that he's going to execute the play. And the other thing is, when you ask someone to do that, it's you also have to play through the scenarios of what if it's not the exact look, or will he make the proper decision in space if it wasn't the defense we were expecting or anticipating, and we trust Albert to do that stuff.
I guess there are many head coaches that may be more adamant on not doing trick plays. Is it pleasant for you to have a head coach that attacks them and says, hey, let's do this, or be open to these sort of things?
Yeah, that part, it's awesome having an offensive head coach that's, willing to try anything, willing to be aggressive and do those things, and, has a big part in coming up with those creative ideas.
Does Ryan Tannehill run faster than you realized he could? When you got here, he seems fast, pretty fast.
Yeah, I think it's fast. It's fast for a quarterback, and having a big part of his game is being able to extend, and make plays with his legs, the zone read stuff, all those things he can do. That skill set makes it tough on defenses.
Besides getting the touchdowns off those trick plays, how much do you think you might benefit this Sunday as well as down the road in just giving defensive coordinators something to think about?
Yeah, that's a great question. A great point is every time you do those things, and every time you use all these personnel groupies that we've been using, and those guys have to go and they have to prepare for them, and they have to prepare not just what you've done, but they have to rep every one of their blitzes, every one of their coverages into 5 wides, into 20 personnel, to 10 personnel, to 11 personnel, to 12 personnel, and all those different groupies that we've been doing. So it takes away time that they have to work on your core concepts. They have to make sure they can fit every one of their runs, every one of their blitzes up versus each one of those personnel groupings.
Something about Amendola that you've kind of learned that you didn't realize, since you met him?
I don't know if there's anything I've learned. I would say that I've really come to have a great appreciation for his competitive spirit and just the way he works. You guys hear him at practice, in training camp and OTAs, how intense he is and how important every rep is. And, it's really, I think our receiver group has done a really good job to this point of the season. And I'd give Danny some of that credit too, helping some of these younger guys develop and become pros, and just showing what it's supposed to be like to work, and just that little chip on his shoulder he has, a competitive spirit that is infectious.
Do you have a series of trick plays in mind that you remind to add to it? And obviously there are some non-trick plays in there too, but how common is that for you to remind him during the course of the game, maybe we want to get to that?
Yeah, those things happen as far as trick plays, run game, pass game. As we design stuff during the week, it's hey, we have a play off this or play off that, and just the constant communication going back and forth of when's the right time to use it, and that's the most important thing, is the play caller, is that he calls it at the right time, to make sure you get the look you want, because most of the time you get one shot at those things, and if it doesn't work, and you have to have tremendous trust in the guy doing them, but the timing is a very critical thing. And make sure, for 2 or 3 series, we're talking to our guys about that play. Hey, if this comes up, be prepared,
You go with Woodard. What put Woodard over the edge among that group? What did he do in preseason and camp that impressed you guys?
I think just obviously we kind of picked him up late at the end of the year last year, and probably more just from a physical standpoint, from a size sort of standpoint was what initially we brought him in. But had him through the whole off season, and I thought he had a very successful preseason. Thought he had some production. And I just think organizationally we just felt his familiarity with the system. And I think Adam just believes in that, in guys that are part of the guys in the practice squad, that they're not just here to practice, that they're developmental players, and they're guys that are, again, we're training in the system day to day to fill those roles for us. So I think just at the end of the day, he's worked hard to get to where he is and to earn his spot in the team through the preseason, through the whole offseason, really. Again, I didn't have a ton of familiarity with him when we first signed him at the end of last season. So I think since he's been in the building, he's done everything right. He's worked hard. He's a big body. He's kind of slippery. He's got a little knack for kind of finding things. Like he had some production, like I said, in the preseason. So I think he's earned that opportunity to have a shot.
A lot going back to March about rotation and playing away using the defensive line.
Yeah.
Will the rotation have to change now, or do you still want to have that even distribution of snaps?
Yeah, both. I mean, the rotation changes week to week. I mean, there's certain times you like better matchups or guys you want to play more or less, and sometimes the flow of the game dictates. I mean, this is obviously a week where you have to be careful substituting anyways, with this offense, and they're going to try to catch you with too many guys in the field and some of those things they like to do. So even if we were sort of had the same people we had last week going to the game, I mean, we would have to change our substitution strategy this week. Because they make it difficult to do some of the things like that. So, we train all our guys to play. I mean, that's an ideal world, that's sort of the way we can do it if we can get to quick subs and rolling groups. But, they get stuck out there. I mean, they're going to have to play ball for us. So week to week, I mean, that strategy changes. And again, sometimes it's about matchups and who we want to get a little bit maybe higher workload. Sometimes, again, like this week, it's just a matter of, hey, we may not have a chance to do that. Like, you can't sub unless they sub, so we got to be on top of that anyway. So, guys may have to be in there for some extended drives, and we'll just try to get the sort of best matchups for us when we can.
Are you worried about one quick follow-up, Omar. I know you've talked about Wake not looking 36, but is there concerns that the snaps might add up?
Nope.
I was going to ask you, that's along that question, but I'll switch to Kiko Alonso.
Okay.
What has...
It's not really a follow-up.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
What has been different about his game that we've seen that has pretty much explains why he's second in the NFL in tackles right now?
Is he? Oh, I didn't know that. Kiko's been playing well for us. I think just... I would say last year there was probably he had some, I'm not sure if he was as comfortable just sort of in a big picture thing. He was flopping some positions, some of the guys around him, he had some new faces. He was dealing with some residual injuries with the hand thing from the year before and those sort of things. So I feel like a lot of that stuff he's kind of put behind him. He's kind of had, at least with Raekwon particularly, they've been working together, throughout the whole offseason as sort of a unit, and with, Chase and Bake and some of those guys we've been working in. So I think he's got that. There's just been that longer familiarity and comfort level with those guys and what they're doing together as a unit. He's probably a little bit healthier coming into it. So, I think, I felt like he had a pretty good season our first year here as well. Obviously, had a lot of production for us. So I think he could probably just getting back to those sort of flying around ways. He's coming a lot of ground on the field. I mean, he's going sideline to sideline and getting the ball a lot and showing up. So, I think he's probably just feeling healthier and feeling a little bit more comfortable with everything that's going on around him.
Is there a strategy to getting the best out of Kiko?
Yeah, did I? No, I don't think so. I mean, I think he's self-driven. Kiko, he's sneaky I don't know how to word that. You know, he's stupid like a fox. I mean, he kind of, you talk to him, sometimes he seems goofy and aloof, and you know, you guys around him, spend some time with him, but he's really smart and he's really dedicated to preparing. You walk by that linebacker room at all times of the day, night, off days, and he's in there watching tape, you know, and he doesn't really talk about it. It's not like he's kind of again, like I said, he's kind of a goofy personality to some extent, but he's a committed preparer. He probably watches more film than anybody on our defense, I would say. You know, so I don't think it's anything about getting him to play his best. I think he's committed to doing that, and he takes pride in it. And like I said, I think it's just for him a level of comfort, you know, with, again, the people around him and with his body and being physically healthy. I think he's just kind of in a flow right now, in a rhythm.
Matt, what did you know about Martrell Spate before this week, and what have you seen this past 2 days?
Yeah, you know, he's just, when we're, you know, similar to some of the guys we're bringing in. I mean, he's a young veteran. You know, he's not, you know, he's still a youngish guy, but he's played some football in the league. You know, he brings a little physical presence to him. He had a lot of tackles, you know, the last couple of years when he got a chance to play. So we like that he had some experience, you know, in the league. We liked sort of his physical play. You know, he's done it. He's played special teams. He's played linebacker. He's played a couple spots and those sort of things. You know, we brought him in for the workout. We just felt like he was the best option, and he's been great, man. All our reports of everybody talked to from Washington and other places that, like, great kid, great personality, just team guy, all that stuff, and he's just stepped right in and done whatever we're asked. So, you know, we're trying to get him caught to speed as quickly as possible, and he's taken to that, man. He's kind of been a gym rat in the building the last couple of days trying to get everything right. So, again, like the level of experience, again, where he's still kind of a younger player but has some playing experience in the league, and like sort of his physical play.
We've seen Minkah do so many things right that's almost surprising when he doesn't. There were a couple missed tackles on Sunday. How hard is he on himself when that happens? And was it just a technique issue there, or just somebody missed tackle because of physical reasons?
Yeah, but he's probably not as hard on himself as I am on him. So, you know, some of it, you know, he's got to wrap up better. I mean, he's trying to get in a couple times where he's trying to cut tackle and just kind of throw a shoulder in there, and he can't do that. That's going to, you know, over the long haul, it's going to lead to more missed tackles. So he has to correct that part of it as terms of a technique. He took one bad angle on one of them. But again, I think with Minkah, we're asking him to do a lot, you know, and obviously, especially with Rashad, you know, being down last week, you know, and trying to move him into some different spots, and you know, we're putting a lot on his plate. So, you know, I think, you know, I probably don't print this, I won't say this to him, but you know, that's sort of built into that fact that there's going to be a mistake or two here or there, because we're doing a lot with him. I mean, we're asking him to do a lot of things right now, and you know, he's shown a pretty good capacity to handle that, but there's going to be he's still a rookie, and there's some stuff that he hasn't seen, that again, maybe hasn't repped because we're moving him to different spots and things. So, you know, I'm not going to tell him that I'm accepting of that, but there's sort of an innate sort of level of sort of understood that he's going to make some mistakes. And again, he's another guy that is very correctable on the sideline when something happens. It's a one-time, hey, this is what we're looking for in this, or hey, here's what happened, here's what you should do, and it's okay, and we move on. So I mean, you know, he's another guy that's just, the more he plays and the more we keep giving him those reps, that hopefully those kind of go down.
When I asked Adam about time possession, he obviously mentioned things on offense, but he also mentioned third down defense.
Yeah.
What do you see there?
Yeah, we stink right now. I mean, we do. And again, last week was probably similar to keep my days straight, the first week, Tennessee. Again, we had, some of them don't count the official stats. I think we had 15 third downs last week, and like 10 of them were less than 5 yards, or third and 4 or less or something. So, I mean, and there was a couple of those drives we didn't even get to third down, so that's a whole nother story you want to talk about. So we're not, you know, and that's a good offensive team that we played last week, and but we're giving up leaky yardage in the run game. I mean, our stats aren't horrible, you know, and all that, but like, you know, we're side tackling guys, and you know, we're giving up 4 or 5 yards on a rush here and there, and then it's 3 yards on the next rush, and it's 3rd and 2, and that's hard living. that's hard living. So we haven't been good on third downs, but we haven't put ourselves in a spot to have success on those third downs because I don't know overall, but the majority of our third downs have been probably 5 or less to go, and that's tough living. That's hard to do. So we have to do a better job earlier, on the chains to give us a chance to get to. Some of the stuff we want to do and get our guys rushing and give those guys opportunities to do those things. We have to get them to those situations where we can cut those guys loose a little bit. And it's hard to rush a quarterback when it's 3rd and 3 and the ball's going to be out in 2 seconds. So we have not been good on third downs, and we have to be better. If hey, it's 3rd and 4, we got to get a stop. We have to get off the field. Last week we obviously didn't help ourselves with a couple of penalties and some stuff that kept drives alive. Also, when we did get third down stops, we can't do that either. But so we have to be better on third downs. That's definitely an area of emphasis this week. But we have to help ourselves by trying to give us a little bit better, put us in some better spots earlier in the chains.
Cooler weather, but I don't think you're going to have many players complain about playing more plays.
With Vincent Taylor, what has he shown you since last year or maybe this camp that says that he's ready for more to be put on his plate?
I think experience, just 1 year in the NFL, that's just, you're going to learn so much throughout a season. And when you get into the training camp aspect of it, since, the spring was tough for him, he was recovering. We get into training camp, and it's just he's adding to that library of things that he gets to see. And, we were doing a lot of different stuff to where it's just more he was seeing, and he's reacting quickly, and he's playing aggressive, playing fast. You can tell he's not really thinking a bunch. He just is able to go out there and play. He knows the call. He knows what his job is, and now he plays the play.
Adam, because so many players do so many different things well, does it really challenge your play calling?
I don't think so. I think it just helps us be creative and try to keep expanding guys' roles and figure out how far can we take things. And it's fun to be able to just kind of draw things up in the dirt and try it. And if it doesn't work, we throw it out and try something different.
Do you want your players to view this as a big game or just game number 4 of 2018?
I think our guys are looking at this as it's game 4. And that's the feeling I get.
Is that's what you want, or do you want some of them?
That's what we're going through. It's the first quarter of the season, and it's the 4th game. It's a road game. It's a division game. It's always tough to go on the road in the division against a team that knows you well, and they'll be prepared. And our job is to make sure that we prepare as well as we need to for this week to really, when we hit the 4th quarter, that we got an opportunity to win the game.
Your offense is kind of a weird catch-22 because you've never been more explosive, but time possession is kind of in one side. And I know you've talked before about the importance of time possession. How do you get that back?
I think it has to be complementary football. We need to do a better job of not having any 3 and outs and holding on the ball longer. And when you score, it's not as painful for the defense. When we go 3 and out, that's a little different. And then I think our defense can help themselves out sometimes with the 3rd down, getting off the field. And, we had a couple opportunities last week, kind of hurt ourselves. So, both sides of the ball can help each other in that aspect, and that's how you can kind of get that time of possession flipped.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the interviews. I hope you enjoyed the show. And as always, if you did, please hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends, post on Facebook, whatever, hit the like button, and definitely leave me some comments, questions, concerns, anything you'd like to see or hear in the videos, stuff like that. So definitely let me know. And of course, the most important thing is subscribe. So with that said, I'll see you guys soon, and fins up.